Wow, pretty neat, huh? What do you think? Just like Hollywood? Just like movies? Yeah. So my name is Cody Bahlau. I work on a research vessel, a research boat, and we go all around the world doing different types of science type expeditions and studies. So, we travel on the ocean, so a long ways away from Illinois. So I have a map. Let's look at a map and let's see where you guys are at. And then we'll zoom out and we'll fly to where I'm at on board the boat right now. So I'm going to share my screen here. So this is where you guys are at right now in Illinois. So let me zoom out a little bit. So you guys are by Chicago, right? So what lake is this? Is this Lake Michigan? Yeah. So we'll zoom out. So I'm actually from Michigan. Originally, this is where I grew up. I went to third grade in Michigan. So we're going to zoom out a little bit farther. So we're going to see the United States. And we're going to keep going west all the way over here. So right in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, this is where I'm at right now on board the boat called the Marcus G. Langseth. And we're floating in the ocean as we go west. We're going to go to some islands, and we're gonna pick up some scientists there who are on their islands. Now, what does this boat look like? Is it a big boat? Is it a small boat? Let's have a video of it. So we're going to watch a drone video, almost like a helicopter, as we fly around it. Let's see what that looks like. Hold on one second. Here we go. So we're going to watch this drone footage. So we're flying up on the back of the boat right now. And offshore at sea, we have all these strange names. So the back of the boat we call the stern. So we're coming up on the stern of the boat. And now we're going to come to the right-hand side, which is the starboard side, which is the right-hand side. Does everybody see that square in the center of the boat? Does everybody see that? Yes. That's called an A-frame. And that allows us to deploy scientific gear into the water. What does deploy mean? Deploy means putting it into the water so we can make some measurements. Now we're to the front of the boat now. This is called the bow. So this is where the captain drives the boat. So he's up there with his officers, and they're driving the boat as we go along. Now we're coming up on the left-hand side, and this is called the port side. Does everybody see the tower right in the center? That high tower? So that's where we have biologists. They work up there, and they watch for whales and dolphins and turtles and seabirds, all sorts of different wildlife. They're watching as we go. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. I have some pictures, and I have some videos of some things they see, which I think will be pretty neat. Who wants to see a turtle? Raise your hand. Yeah? Yeah, we'll see some turtles later. Okay. So how big is the boat? So the boat is almost a football field long. So it's 70 yards long. So it's about as long as a football field and 20 yards wide. And we have 40 to 50 people on board at one time. So right now in your class, what do you think? Is there 30, 40 people, Miss Pentanel?
How many?
Is there 30, 40 people there?
How many? I didn't hear you. Say it again. Sorry.
How many people are here? 30 or 40 students?
65.
Yeah, 65.
Oh, 65. Fantastic. So just think, everybody in the lunchroom here, the auditorium, just think if you had to live together for 30 days and you couldn't go home. You had to be at school, you had to study, you had to eat dinner in that cafeteria for 30 days. So this is something that we do on board the research boat. So I live with all the people on here. We have our own cabins. So a cabin is like a bedroom. So let's look to see what that looks like. So this is where we sleep. So this is when the scientists come on board. This is where they're going to stay. They stay in this cabin, and there are 3 beds here. So you have to share your bedroom with other scientists. So you can't leave your dirty socks in the middle of the floor because you have other people who have to share the beverage. So just like at school, you have a cafeteria where you eat your lunch and your breakfast. So we have something similar, but we have a strange name for it. We call it the mess room. So this is where we eat our food. So just like at school, like in the tables that you're sitting in now, you have your lunch. This is where we have lunch. Now, last night for dinner, we had pizza and chicken wings. I bet nobody likes pizza, do you? Yeah, you guys like pizza? Okay, well, you probably liked dinner last night. And we have a whole freezer filled with ice cream and popsicles and things like that after dinner, we can have some ice cream. So let's look to see where the cooks. So the cooks, they cook in what's called the galley. Remember I said there's all these strange names? So here's where the cooks do the cooking. So they have all of our food ready. And this is where and this is where we get our food. So what do you think? If you were on board the boat, let's see, would you want to have a place to watch TV and play games? Who likes PlayStation? Anybody like PlayStation? Yeah. So let's have a look. So this is where, so when the scientists come, they have a little movie room. They can watch Netflix and Amazon. We have a PlayStation on board with all sorts of different type of games, and they can play games. We have a guitar on board. They can play music. So this is where the captain drives the boat. So that looks pretty fancy, doesn't it? Almost like a spaceship. So that's where the captain drives the boat. Now, if you look real close, what do you think should be there? What don't you see in that picture? Can anybody tell me? Yeah, let's pick somebody who has their hand raised. Can you tell me what's not there?
I'm not there. It looks like a pilot's place.
Yeah, it looks like a pilot, just like from an airplane. But what about the big wheel? How does the captain drive the boat?
big wheel?
The steering wheel. The big wheel's not there.
Yeah,
The big
there's
wheel's not there.
The big
yeah,
wheel's
there's
not
no
there.
wheel there. So the captain actually drives the boat like you guys would play a video game. They have very small joysticks, and they drive the boat back and forth with the joystick. Isn't that pretty neat? Just like a PlayStation. Pretty neat, huh? So let's see what else. You know how when you guys go to recess or maybe the basketball court to play basketball. So on board the boat, we have a gym as well. So this is where people go to exercise. So we have a treadmill and we have a bike and we have some weights and things like that. Yeah. So right now the ocean is very calm. So you see behind me, we don't see, like the boat's not moving too much. But sometimes the seas can be very rough. So let's watch a little video, and I want you to tell me, do you think that you would want to work on a boat when it was moving like this? Ready? Here we go.
All hands, hoist the colors high. Heave ho, thieves and beggars, never shall we die.
So who would want to work on the boat in that weather? Anybody? That looked pretty rough, didn't it? Yeah. So sometimes the seas can be quite calm and rough. And one of the things that we do is we look at the weather report, just like during the winter. I bet when when there's a big snowstorm outside, I bet nobody listens to the weather to see if school has been canceled, right? Everybody doesn't care about the weather. What do you think? Yeah. So just like during that time, when you're paying attention to the weather and how much snow or ice, we watch the same thing on a research boat. We want to see how fast the wind is blowing and how big the waves are going to be to know how safe it is going to be for us to work. So a few of the things, you know, that we're doing is we're deploying. Remember I said deploy, that scientific word. We're deploying equipment into the water, and it goes all the way down to the bottom of the ocean so we can take some measurements of what's below the water. And one of these instruments is called an OBS, Ocean Bottom Seismometer. That's a big scientific word, but that goes down to the bottom and that listens to earthquakes down below. So this is what that looks like when we deploy that. We'll watch a video when we put it over the side and then as it falls to the water. Let's watch that.
I've been the one. You have been the one for me. Goodbye, my lover. Goodbye, my friend. You have been the one. You have been the one for me.
So that was us taking it on board the boat, and that A-frame, remember in the drone, you remember the video of the boat, we looked at the A-frame? That's us putting it into the water, and it sinks to the bottom. Now, the ocean is so deep that it could take 1 to 2 hours for that to get all the way to the bottom. That's pretty deep, isn't it? It's 6,000 yards or meters deep. That's pretty deep. So let's look at it as it goes through the water. Here's this picture. So when we're doing the science in the ocean, sometimes we see quite a few animals as well. So remember I mentioned turtles and dolphins. So we'll look at a picture of a turtle and a dolphin. We'll look at some whale. Who wants to see a whale? Anybody? Yeah? So we'll look at a video of some whales. And then we'll look at some other animals. And then we'll do a few questions. And then after the questions, then I'll continue talking about some other stuff. So let's look at some pictures first. Hold on. Okay, here's a turtle. Here's a turtle that we saw. So this picture was taken last month. And here's a picture of a dolphin. That's out of the water. Here's another picture. And now we'll look at a whale. Hold on. Here it is. So these whales were in Mexico. We were coming into port, back into land, and just before we got to the dock, we saw these whales jumping out of the water. Hold on. We'll see them a little bit better here in a second. Here they come. They're going to come out of the water. It's called breaching, when they come out of the water and splash down. So these are 2 humpback whales that we saw. So, yep, they're humpback whales. So it's a type of whale. And sometimes we go to some fun places when we do our science. So we were in the Galapagos Islands, and we could see turtles and iguanas and different types of birds. So this is video footage that I filmed when I was swimming with the turtles. Let's watch this. That's it. So we see a shark. Here's a turtle. Yep, so this turtle was only a few feet from me when I was taking the picture. That's a tortoise. So who sees the tortoise with the number 1? That's because he's the fastest.
I said number 1.
Yeah. So those are some of the animals that we get to see when we work on a research vessel that goes all around the world. So I think this is a good time for some questions. We'll do a few questions and then we'll continue on with some pictures and videos.
Okay. Who has a question?
Yeah. How long have you actually been doing this? I mean,
So I've been doing this for a long time now. So I've been doing this for 25 years. I started this in 2001, and I was working on oil and gas rigs. And then I came to work for Columbia University in 2020. So I've been on board this boat for 6 years now.
I'm picking the quietest people to ask a question.
So when you like put in like all these machines, how do you keep them from like getting eaten by like a sea animal?
Yeah, that's a good question. So sometimes we deploy cables off the back of the boat. So one of the experiments we do is called seismic. So seismic, we can make an image of the rocks below the ocean. So how does that work? How do we make a picture of the rocks below the ocean? So you know how a bat flies? So a bat has big ears, and as it flies through the air, it makes a noise. That noise goes out, reflects, and comes back. The bat listens to that, and it can make an image of the trees, of a house, of a barn. So we use the same idea. We make a big noise, it goes down, it reflects off the rocks, and when the rocks come back, we can make an image of the rocks below the ocean. But to do that, we have to have a long cable that goes out behind the boat. That cable's 7 miles long. Sometimes we have sharks that want to bite that cable. So we do a couple things to try to limit how many times they bite it, because we don't want them to bite our cable. There's a few things that we have to do. There's another thing, we have these small animals that grow on our equipment. They're called barnacles, and we don't want barnacles to grow. So we paint our equipment with special paint to make sure that the barnacles don't grow on it. That was a good question. That's the first time that's ever been asked. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me, Emily?
My turn. Where was your school that you went to?
So I went to the University of Michigan, go blue. So not too far away. I went just like you guys. So I went to elementary school. I went to junior high, and then high school. And then after high school, I went to college. So in college, I was able to get a bachelor's degree in geology. So working on board a boat like this, there are many, many different paths to be able to come do something like this. And a little bit later, I can talk about that. But that's what I did. I went to University of Michigan.
Is that where Marie Tharp went?
Is that where Mary Tharp went?
So that's a good question. So right now I work for a university called Columbia University out of New York City. And she worked at that university that I work at right now a long time ago, but she was there. So that's a good question. So she was one of the first people to make a map of the ocean. So this is sort of what her map looked like. Let me show you a
That's one
picture.
of her maps.
So this was one of the maps that she worked on, and she was able to understand through observation, through scientific observation of the Mid-Atlantic ridge and the idea of plate tectonics, that the Earth is made up of different plates. It was very amazing work that she was able to do.
Very cool.
I have a question.
Another question. Hold on, I'm going to go back here. Let's see. How about?
How many people are on the boat with you?
So we have 40 to 50 people on board the boat at one time. It depends how many scientists are on board. And these people can come from all over the world. So normally we have different nationalities on board. We have boys and girls. We have all sorts of different people that come to be able to do their science all at one time. So that's a good question. Let me show you a video. This shows some of the scientists that we had on board. It's a quick video. Let me find it here. This will give you an idea of some of the people who work here. Here it is. So these are all different people who work on board. So this was doing oceanographic work. We were taking water samples, and we were lowering microscopes in the water and we were looking at all the different plankton that live in the water.
What? You get seasick?
So some people do. So we tell people when they come on board the boat that sometimes when the waves are big, like that video that we watched earlier, some people can get sick. And we tell them it's nothing to be embarrassed about. Sometimes people just get sick. And the best thing to do about that is you can rest, you can have some crackers, some water, you go up on deck, you get fresh air, because some people, it just happens. I've never have been seasick, but I'm just lucky. Some people are lucky, some people are unlucky.
Over here? Yes, sir. Loud.
What did you do when you were a scientist?
He is a scientist.
So some of the stuff, yes, that's a good question. So some of the stuff that we do on board is a continuation of what Marie Tharp was doing when she was mapping the bottoms of the ocean. So it's called bathymetry, or making the maps. So if you look over here, so do you see these two screens right here? So these two screens, we're running a sonar right now, and we're mapping the bottom of the ocean. So the ocean makes up 70% of the Earth, but only 27% of the Earth has actually been mapped in high definition. So some of the maps that we make, so for example, right now, this map that we're making right now, you guys are the first people in the world to ever see this data that we're getting right now, because it's never been mapped before ever. And what we're trying to do is we're making a map of the ocean. So let's look.
Listen, though.
So let's look at what that looks like. Let me find a picture here. Hold on.
No, we're going to have to get the data here.
So you guys talked about probably the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. So this is a picture of the ridge, but this is how we mapped it. Let me get it here. So on the left-hand side, you can see this is called sonar data. And does everybody see the different colors? You see the blue, the yellow, the red. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Yeah. So the blue colors represent a deeper depth. So just think that we're looking at the top of a cake. So it's your birthday cake. We're looking at it from the top down. So the blue colors represent the deeper depth, and the yellow and red colors represent a shallower, or for example, that's where the frosting is on top. So we can see the topography or the bathymetry of the seafloor. And that's the same thing that Marie Tharp was doing when she was mapping the bottom of the ocean to understand the mid-oceanic ridge. And I'm going to show you something that's pretty neat. Not too many people in the world have seen this, but last month we were making maps and we made a 3D picture of some volcanoes at the bottom of the ocean. So what does that look like? Let's have a look at that. So the video's quick, so I'll play it a couple times, but this is what it looks like.
Oh my God.
So you see in the center, there are 3 mountains in the center. Those are 3 volcanoes. I'll play it again because it's a quick one. Yeah. So we mapped this a couple months ago, and this was the first time that it's ever been done. So you guys are one of the first people to see this. Do we have another question?
Oh.
What countries have you been to?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So with the research boat, we travel to a lot of amazing places. So I've been to a lot of different countries as we go. Hold on one second. Do you guys want to talk to the captain? The captain of the boat?
The captain.
Here comes the captain.
Oh, the captain needs it. You need it quiet to talk to the captain.
Hello, everybody. Greetings. Hello, everybody. My name's Breck. I'm the captain here on the Langseth. Hello, everybody. My name's Breck. I'm here, the captain here on the Langseth, and I'm sure Cody's already told you, but we're heading to Majuro next to start our next big mission.
Very cool. Very cool.
Well, I'll head you back over to Cody right now. It's great meeting you all.
You too, Kate. Nice meeting you.
Yeah, so that was the captain. Yeah, remember the captain? The captain is the one who drives the boat. So he's up on top and he drives the boat as we go through the ocean.
Oh, wait.
Okay, let's do a next question.
Have you ever been? Have you ever been bitten by a sea animal?
I've never been bitten by a sea animal, but sometimes we have jellyfish that come up on the equipment when we bring it back on board, and sometimes the jellyfish can sting our hands. So that's why you see what I'm wearing. I'm wearing called coveralls with long sleeves, and we wear gloves, and that helps prevent the jellyfish from stinging us. There was a question before about countries. So on board the boat, we go to a lot of different countries. So some people on board have been to 30, 40, 50 different countries around the world when we're doing our different scientific studies.
Tell me the names of them.
Well, there's a lot of them. Okay, another question here.
What is your favorite game on the PlayStation and why?
So I'm not a game player, so I don't know anything about the games. But other people really like
how about over here? Who did I just do? I picked the quiet people.
So let's do one more question, and then we'll talk a little bit about some science.
Where are you heading next?
So right now we're going to go to what's called the Marshall Islands. Let me show you the map. They're very small islands in the Pacific Ocean. So this is where we're at right now. So if you follow the yellow line, so we're going to go all the way over here to these very, very small islands. Look how small these are. So they're called atolls, and they're just a small ring in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And when I'm there, so we're going to be there next week. So we're going to be there May 7th. And when I'm there, I'm going to go to shore and I'm going to talk to to students at different schools, just like you guys. But I'm actually going to go there in person and talk to them. So let's talk a little bit more about science. Does anybody know what the water cycle is? Who knows what the water cycle is? Does anybody know? Yeah? So let's look at a picture. So the water cycle is important because in the oceans, that's where a lot of water comes from that falls in rain and snow in Illinois. So let's look at a picture. So in the oceans, on the left-hand side, we have the water that evaporates, and that goes up and makes clouds. And those clouds get pushed over the United States, and they form rain and snow that falls in Colorado or California or Illinois or Michigan. And then that comes down, that melts or goes into the rivers. And then from there, from the rivers, it goes into, like, for example, like Lake Michigan, and then goes all the way back to the ocean before it then evaporates again. And it just creates this cycle. So that's how in the farmers in Illinois, they can get rain for their corn and their carrots, and you can get snow up in Wisconsin and Michigan and things like that. Yeah. Let's look at another thing. So on board here, we look at volcanoes. So who likes volcanoes? Anybody? You guys like volcanoes? So we try to understand how volcanoes form. So let's look at a picture. So here, what we're looking at is the bottom of the ocean. And maybe you haven't studied it in school yet, but we have something called plate tectonics. And that was one of the things that Marie Tharp was trying to understand. And that was one of the ideas that she made famous, is that the earth is made up of all these different plates. So think if you have a hard-boiled egg and you hit the hard-boiled egg on the table and it has cracks all around it. So that's sort of how the earth is. It has these cracks or these plates, and these plates move together And sometimes they go under each other. Sometimes they come together and they form mountains. Sometimes they move side to side like this. And that's how earthquakes are made. So when the plates move, they form earthquakes. And then so that's, the earth shakes. And also that's how volcanoes are made. So let's look at this cartoon of a volcano. So here we have two plates coming together. One plate goes below the other, and it changes how the rocks melt. And when it does that, we have volcanoes that form. And the magma comes to surface, it comes out of the volcano, and it makes lava. So for example, Hawaii is a volcanic island. Do we have a few more questions? Well, before we do that, let's look at the oceans. How many oceans are there? Does anybody know? Does anybody have an idea?
Five.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. Yeah, there are 5 oceans. Let's look at the picture here. So we have the Pacific, the Atlantic, the Arctic, the Southern, and the Indian Ocean. So a lot of different oceans. And why that's important is because everything is connected together. So the currents are connected together. So let's look at a picture of the currents. So let's look at a little video. Hold on.
You guys sit down.
So this little video shows how the ocean currents move around the world. So you see down by Florida, everybody goes to Florida for Disney World and the beaches. So you have that red line represents warm water. And that warm water moves that up towards Europe. So that's why around Europe, you have weather that's warmer because it's due to the ocean pushing that warm water up. So one of the things that we study on this research boat is how the currents are affected over time. Are they changing? Are they getting warmer? Are they getting colder? So we take water samples and we're able to understand how that works. So let's do some more questions.
No, you don't.
How do you get internet?
So just like probably some of you guys at home maybe have Starlink. So we have Starlink on board the boat. So we have a satellite dish. We have 2 of them, and they're outside on top of the boat. And we talk to the satellites, and we're able to get internet like this. And it's quite important. Well, one reason, so I can talk to students like you guys, but also remember we're on board for 40, 50 days at a time. So we want to be able to call home and talk to our families and our friends, see our dogs and see our cats, to have that closeness with home.
Have you been to every single ocean?
So I haven't. So the only ocean that I have, well, no, there's 2 oceans. I haven't been to the Indian Ocean and I haven't been to the Southern Ocean. So let's look at that picture again. So I haven't been to the Indian Ocean yet, and I haven't been to the Southern. But I've worked in the Atlantic and the Pacific for a very, very long time.
Very nice. Do you have
Is that true that you worked with Marie Tharp?
So I haven't worked with her at the same school that I'm at now. She used to work here. So she was in New York City, and she was making those big maps that you guys studied in school about the bottom of the ocean and about the ridges in the plates. So she used data. So a long time ago, we had an old research vessel. So I work on the Marcus G. Langseth right now. We had another research vessel a long time ago that would take measurements of how deep the ocean was. And she would take that information and she would plot that and make a big picture of all the oceans. And she was one of the first people who understood about plate tectonics. She was very, very smart.
They're saying they're called what, Ian?
Soundings.
Yeah, exactly. Soundings. That's right. Yeah, exactly right.
Because there's so many people in the ship, does it get really crowded?
It can, yeah, it can sometimes. So remember that on board a research vessel, we're working 24 hours a day. So like in school, what time do you guys start school? 8 a.m.? 7:30?
9.
Okay, so you start at 9 and you finish at what time? 3?
Christian, we're almost done.
3 or 4? So you guys go from school to 9 a.m. to 3 or 4 in the afternoon. But on board here, someone is always working 24 hours a day. So at midnight, someone is up driving the boat. And I say that is because someone is always working. So the people are sort of spread out throughout the day. So everybody doesn't eat lunch all at the same time.
Oh. Oh, hi.
Hi. How much sharks have you seen?
How many
So we
sharks
see,
have you seen?
we don't see sharks all the time, but sometimes we see them swimming around the boat. When we have the lights on the water, we have them swimming below the lights because all the small fish, they come to see what the lights are. And sometimes we send a submarine down in the bottom of the water with no people in it. It's called an ROV, remotely operated vehicle. So this is what this looks like. So you see, it's this big square, and it has these amazing cameras on it that we can see the bottom of the ocean. And sometimes when we're looking in these amazing cameras, we can see a shark swim by in these cameras.
Wow. So nice.
Have you ever been have you ever dived under the ocean before?
No, so most of the science work we do is on board the boat. So we put equipment into the water, but we ourselves don't dive down.
Did you meet Marie Tharp?
I never met her, so when she was at my school, I wasn't here. So she had already stopped working by the time I came to the school.
All right.
What's the weirdest sea creatures you guys found?
So sometimes when the equipment comes from the bottom of the ocean on board the boat, we have different types of crabs on it. We have starfish on it. We have all sorts of different little animals that have grabbed hold of it and came to surface. So sometimes some of those animals are quite interesting. So for example, here's a video of us recovering some gear that was in the water. It's a high-speed video, but you guys will be able to see. I can tell you guys are quite smart. So this video shows us bringing this equipment on board. It was all the way down at the bottom. And basically what this is, it's a huge thermometer. So you know how sometimes when you're not feeling well, you go to the doctor and you have a thermometer that you put in your mouth? Well, we do the same thing at the bottom of the ocean. We have this big thermometer. It's probably, 6-7 feet tall, and it goes all the way down. And it goes all the way down, and it sticks into the bottom of the ocean, and it can take the temperature of the sand below it.
Again, the quietest people I'm picking.
What is the whalest creature you have seen?
Well, probably those animals that come up from the bottom, the starfish and the different crabs.
Starfish and a different crab. Let's see here. Bryce?
Could you shoot torpedoes under the water?
we don't shoot torpedoes in the water, but what we do when we do the seismic studies, we have to make a big noise, and that noise is done by compressed air. So think, you know how like if you pop a balloon and it makes that pop, that big noise? So we do the same thing in the water. We have a seismic source. Let me show you a video. So this video goes underwater, and it shows the equipment in the water, and then you'll see the big, like the big balloon popping. Let's watch that. Here it is. So what we're able to do with that, so once that noise goes down, it reflects back, and we can make a picture of the rocks below the ocean floor.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Again, quiet as people.
How old are you?
Oh, let's ask something about
So I'm 47 years old. So I've been doing this for 25 years.
Oh, I think you already did it. Let's see.
Have you been to all 6 continents?
I haven't. So I haven't been to Antarctica, and I haven't been to Australia, but I've worked in New Zealand and I've worked in Indonesia. So almost all the continents. Almost. I've been to a lot of places. So let me ask you this before we do some more questions. So when you guys started school, did you guys have some drills that did you have to do a fire drill and a tornado drill before you started school?
Yes, yes.
So when the scientists come on board here, they also have to do some drills. So we have a fire drill, we have an abandoned ship drill. So this is what this looks like. So when they come, everybody has to go up to the muster station, and we put a life jacket on, and then the captain talks to us about what we need to do in the case of an emergency. Here's another picture. So this is the suit that we have to put on. If we have to go in the water when it's cold, we then wear this suit to keep us warm when we're in the water. Here's another question. So when you guys are at home and you're playing your video game or you're watching your favorite show on TV, what happens when your mom and dad come home from the grocery store? Do they honk the horn? Do they guys want you to help with groceries? Who has to help with groceries? Anybody? Yeah? Yeah, and it's always your favorite video game, and it's always the best part of the show, right? Well, we have to do the same thing on board here. So when we have groceries, we have a whole truck that arrives just for groceries. So look at this big semi truck. So this big truck comes, and it's filled with groceries and food and snacks, potato chips, and everybody has to get in a big line. So what we do is, so everybody stands in a line, and we pass the box one person to the next, and it goes all the way from the truck through the boat, up the stairs, and to the refrigerator and freezer to store that food for later.
Oh, that's neat.
When you have dived, have you ever seen like a school of fish or a group of like sea animal?
Yeah, so I showed you the pictures that we take below the ocean, and sometimes we have quite a few fish that come in there. We can see the different animals on the bottom. And then at night, when we're on board the boat at night, when we have the lights shining into the water, that attracts fish. So we can see all sorts of big schools of fish that come up by the boat.
My turn.
Her?
Is this first time you're on this boat?
So I've been here for 6 years now that I've been working on board this boat. So I've been on lots of different scientific expeditions, 30 to 40 different expeditions. I've been everywhere from Iceland. Here, let me show you the map. So we're going to go back to Google Earth. So let me zoom out. So this is the United States and Canada, as we know. So I've been all the way up here by Iceland. Let's zoom in. So this is where Iceland is at. And I've worked all in the Atlantic Ocean. Remember from our map of the oceans, this is the Atlantic Ocean, all the way down here by Africa, all the way down by South Africa, which is right here. So we did some scientific studies here. And then in the Pacific Ocean, we've worked down by the Galapagos Islands, by Mexico, by Canada, up by Alaska, and all in the Pacific Ocean. So many, many different places.
Oh, neat.
Today is my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Is that what, do you have questions?
I've been dating forever.
I have another one. When you were a kid, were you inspired to like do this job?
Ooh, good.
Wow, what a great question. What's your name? That's the best question today.
Was he inspired? Now listen.
So that's a good question. So the question is,
My name is Lenny.
oh, nice to meet you, Lenny. Yeah. So the question is, when I was your age, was I inspired to do this job? Well, to be honest, when I was your age, I never even knew this job existed. But the important part is that I was interested in looking at maps, like you guys just studied with Murray Tharp and the maps. I like learning about maps. I like learning about the earth and plate tectonics and oceans and how rivers work. So because I was interested in that, when I was in school and your age, when I went to junior high, I took classes in more science. And then when I went to high school, maybe like some of your big brothers and sisters, I took more classes in science because that's what I like to do. And then eventually I was working on the research boat because when I was your age, I knew what I liked to read about. For example, like in National Geographic Kids magazine, I like to get that. I like to read about different types of science. So for you guys, if you have something that's interesting to you, I would suggest to read about it, ask your teachers about it, and they'll be able to explain more about sort of how that works.
So cool.
Nice.
Let's see somebody here sitting so quietly. Oh my goodness.
Have you ever been to the Ring of Fire?
Yeah, so what the Ring of Fire is, it's an area around the Pacific Ocean that has a lot of volcanoes. And those volcanoes are created by the plate tectonics and how they're moving. So when you have one plate that goes under another, that's an area that creates volcanoes. So right now we're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So the Ring of Fire is sort of all around us. But this boat has worked up by Alaska, by Oregon and Washington, and there's quite a few volcanoes there that's part of the Ring of Fire. Yeah, that's a good question.
Good question.
So, have you ever seen like shrimps and probably octopuses?
So sometimes I really haven't seen shrimp, but sometimes when we bring the equipment up to the surface, the octopus have their tentacles around the equipment. Usually they don't come on board. Once they get into the air, they drop off back into the water. But yeah, sometimes we see them, and we also see squid as well. We'll see squid going through the water.
That's cool.
Yeah. So let's look at another picture. So Marie Tharp was trying to understand the bottom of the ocean. So I mentioned before that not much of the ocean has been mapped. So 70% of the world is ocean. So 26, 27% has been mapped. So if we look at this picture, this is from Seabed 2030. So all the black areas that you're seeing right now have not been mapped. And all the light blue areas have been mapped. So there's a vast, vast area in the world of the oceans that's never been mapped. So that's why when I showed you earlier that this is the first time in the world that you guys are seeing this new ocean data that we're mapping right now.
That's so neat. So neat. Let's see.
Wait.
You have a question?
Yeah.
Loud.
What did you learn in your school? And have you studied giant squid or seen one in real life?
So I've never seen a giant squid. We just have seen the small ones. So in school, when I was in elementary school, I learned about science and math. When I went to junior high and high school, I learned more science, more sort of chemistry and biology. And when I went to college for my bachelor's degree, so when you go to college, the first degree is an associate's degree and then a bachelor's degree. When I learned my bachelor's degree, I learned about geology. So what's geology? Geology is a study of the earth and study of rocks. So I learned about plate tectonics. I learned about the rock cycle. I learned about what type of rocks they are and how they form. So that's what I learned in school.
Have you ever seen a flying fish?
We have seen flying fish. Yep. So in the tropics, in the warmer water, so you have something called a flying fish, and they have these big fins that go out on the side that almost act like wings. And when they're scared, they jump out of the water and they essentially they glide. So they glide for a long ways. It could be 20, 30 yards, 40 yards. They glide through the air until they go back into the water again. And they do that to escape predators, sharks, or other type of fish that want to eat them.
Let me come over here really quick. Oh, sorry.
How much time do we have left, do you think?
How much do you have? We can 5-10 minutes. However, what do you think?
Yeah, let's go 10 more minutes.
10. Okay, I'm gonna have.
What was the coolest animal, like sea creature you've ever seen?
Probably the humpback whales. When they come out of the water, it's called breaching.
Nice.
When they come out of the water and splash back down, that's pretty neat. I think we watched the video earlier, but I'll play it again. So remember when they came out of the water? So they're so big animals, and they come out and they splash down. And scientists think when they do that, they're communicating to each other. They're sort of talking back and forth, and it's part of how they play.
Neat. Nova? You want to ask? Go ahead. Need a minute? Okay, here you go.
Have you ever seen a great white shark?
I never have seen a great white shark. When we were down by South Africa, which is at the southern part of the continent of Africa, some people that I work with, they went out and they dove with great white sharks in a big cage. I never did it. They're more brave than I am, but they were able to see great white sharks there. When we were working in the Galapagos Islands, I saw a hammerhead shark, which was pretty neat.
Very cool. That is great.
Wait, did you pay for the research ship?
So I don't pay for the research ship. So I work on board the research ship, and then scientists come on board to do their studies, their experiments. So how it works is the National Science Foundation, which is run by our government, they provide money to be able to come and do this science work offshore in the oceans.
Nice. Who didn't take it? Yes. Who? Oh.
Have you ever encountered or killed squid or octopus before?
No, when we're doing our scientific experiments, we want to make sure that we're really safe and that we're not going to harm any animals that are in the water with us. So when we're doing different types of experiments, we have a special group of people on board that are called PSOs, Protected Species Observers. And if you remember when we looked at that drone footage of the boat, there was the tower. So the PSOs, who are biologists, they work up in that tower and they have big binoculars and they monitor for different wildlife that are in the water, whales and dolphins and turtles. And when we're doing our scientific studies, if they get too close to us, we stop what we're doing because we want to make sure that we don't hurt anything while we're collecting this data. And once the whale is farther away from us, we continue our experiment when it's safe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have you ever seen a giant squid?
Nope, no giant squids.
We studied, yeah, the giant squid. Maddie, I got one from you. Maddie.
Have you ever used a shark cage?
Oh.
I haven't. So we don't have a shark cage on board. Like I had mentioned earlier, when we were in South Africa. So let's look where South Africa's at again. So you remember, this is the United States. This is where you guys are at right now. So this is the Atlantic Ocean here. This is the continent of Africa here. So this is Africa, the continent of Africa. So all the way down here, there's a country called South Africa. And right at the tip, this is very, very famous for great whites, right in here. And when we were working there, some of the people that I work with on board the boat, they went in a cage down into the water and they saw great white sharks. But it wasn't on here. It was on another boat.
Okay. Got you. Anyone else? Got you. Somebody new? Yeah, if you haven't. I don't remember. No, he asked. Did you ask? Did you ask? Okay. All right, right here.
Did you ever see like a little? Have you ever seen any kind of new fish? New species?
Not really. So on here we mostly look at geophysics, so like seismic. We measure gravity. We measure magnetics. We have the sonar data going that maps the ocean. We take water samples. But on other research vessels, so there's many, many different research vessels in the United States. And on other research vessels, they focus on fish and biology and crab and shrimp. So they look more at fish and they study that. And sometimes they find out new fish that are in the ocean. But on here, that's not something we do. We look at more of geology and rocks and things like that.
Oh.
Okay. What do you think? One more?
Let's do one more.
One more. Okay.
Why do fish get diseases?
What's the question?
Do fish get diseases?
Yes, they do get diseases. Yeah, so that's one of the things that biologists try to study. So they do it, by where you guys are at right now in Lake Michigan. So you have lots of biologists that try to study the fish in Lake Michigan to make sure that they're healthy, that they're swimming up the rivers, that no pollution is going to go in the rivers that affects the fish. They do the same thing in the oceans. They take samples of fish to try to understand if they're healthy. Is the population increasing? Is it decreasing? So, those are one of the things that they look at offshore. They do the same thing with sharks and whales and things like that. Turtles. Yeah, good question.
Have a question.
Oh, very informative. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to say
Everybody
goodbye.
say thank you.
Okay. Bye. Bye. Bye.